Hi everyone, this is Sarah Fay of Roots and Resonance, and today, on the 19th of April 2019, I have some cards for you that I've pulled, as well as a rune, a Norse rune, which is something that I've been doing, try to do every new moon or every full moon, or any other kind of celestial event or big kind of events that might be going on, where I feel as though intuitively offering a reading is potentially supportive, so we can engage with the themes, the energetic themes, the stories, the mythical themes that are playing currently out there in the wider world, globally, ecologically, environmentally, socially, and also politically, and within our own spiritual and emotional, psychological well-being and development as well. So obviously looking at the microcosm and how the microcosm and the macrocosm combine, how the bigger world events and the kind of subtle, personal, interpersonal events can often show us some really interesting alignments with how those things relate. And of course, with Roots and Resonance, I'm all about looking at the seasons, the wheel of the year, and how that kind of seasonally can turn to reflect what manifests out in the seasonal energies, in the earth energies, with very much what's happening within us internally. So I'm really interested in seeing how the different webs of consciousness can weave together, and how the webs of our lives and our relationships and the bigger picture of what's happening on the earth at this time, what's happening around us seasonally and environmentally, also influences our state of mind, our health, our well-being. So really that's a very holistic way, holistic perspective of looking at what's happening at the moment, and drawing in that cosmic energy of the full moon right now is a great time to really look at those pictures, to sit in meditation or reflection, to take some time out, even in a busy schedule, for a few moments during the full moon, or a time of the next couple of days over the weekend. If you're in holiday time at the moment in the UK, it is of course the Easter holidays, and those of you that have a few spare moments to really sit and be with this time, because there is a lot that's shifting, a lot that's moving. If not in your own life, of course there probably are things in your own lives that are changing and shifting and peaking and culminating, but there's also around us, we can see just from turning on the TV or reading the news, looking at social media feeds, there's a lot of extremely important changes happening now. Some of them are obviously very hard to process and witness, but of course that's where the gold is, the pure gold, through the transformation of great, often chaotic and unexpected change, which is certainly what brings us to this full moon. So the full moon currently, to summarise a little bit about the astrology, is a full moon, the second full moon that's in Libra and Aries. So we can look into the relational sphere in our lives to hone things into what's going on in our day-to-day lives, maybe in our relationships, the relational world, whether that's through work or in personal relationships, or things that we're seeing in the outside world. We're getting this sense of there being a really a melting pot of pressure that's building with the big planets in the sky that are currently influencing around this full moon as well. I do encourage you to look up any astrologers that you know and look in depth, because there's some fantastic, interesting stuff out there. I've posted a couple on my Roots and Resonance page, including some friends and some people that I follow as well who are really good astrologers, and there's loads more out there for you to look at. It really is a melting furnace of pressure, as I've written down here. And what I mean by that is there's a sense of fire, there's a sense of, with Libra and Aries in the moon, you can see the emotional realm is coming out. The intellect and the rational, and the ability to kind of control what comes out of our mouths, what happens in the relational theatre of our lives, what happens in the dynamics that we explore and experience, isn't something we can necessarily control right now or predict. And on a bigger sort of picture, really, we can see that globally, politically, there's that sense of unease, unpredictable energy, giving rise to a lot of opportunity for great change at a real core level. That energy has with it the real sense, as I've been talking about in previous readings as well, and in previous videos over the last couple of lunar events, is that really anything that is outdated, outworn, no longer serving you, no longer helping the other person or the other people or the other community connections that you might have in your life, whatever's not serving right now will be held to account, will be shown up for what it truly is. And perhaps the last full moon around the time when Aries was coming in, Aries season, where that energy picks up, where that warrior energy, that fiery spirited springtime energy begins to surge, and we are seeing in the external world the manifestation of what we may have known internally or emotionally, what we may even have been carrying for a long time, emotionally or psychologically, is starting to come out, to be seen, to be witnessed in the landscape of our wider lives. So this full moon seems to have an energy of really a catalyst energy, a cataclysmic energy even, where there might be an explosive element alongside these other planets. Like I say, astrologically, there's some big stuff happening at the moment. So anything that is out of balance, and perhaps has been out of balance for a long time, in your personal spiritual growth, your personal path to freedom and liberation, anything that hinders that, that traps that binds that holds you back, anything that holds back your relational world, whether it's the relationships you're currently in or relationships you're exploring at this time that are new, anything that no longer serves you will come to the fore. So really, a chaotic and unpredictable energy, but ultimately freeing up what needs to be freed up to allow a new paradigm, a new model, a new lifestyle, a new way of perceiving to come into play, which could ultimately be very freeing. So I've pulled some cards to explore this energy in a little more detail. A couple of cards that will hopefully support you in how you can best utilise this energy and what the main themes are. I've also pulled a Norse Rune to link those two cards together, to bind them together with some runic magic and lore to carry with you into your day and into the days ahead, because this reading is not just about the full moon today, which is exact at roughly 11:15 a.m. in the UK. On Friday the 19th, so that's really soon as I'm delivering this reading. So, but the influence of that will be felt for some time, and we're talking about moving into the next lunar cycle as the moon moves from being full into the sort of period of time where we are thinking about moving from what the energy that's peaking, which is intense energy right now, as I've just said, into relaxing and kind of looking at what needs to be gestated, what's the next chapter into the coming days and weeks ahead. Okay, so the first card I've drawn from the Wild Unknown Tarot, I have asked what key themes and issues in our day-to-day lives, but we may also, like I say, observe these things playing out on a much bigger scale. What key themes and issues does this full moon raise our awareness of? And I have got here the lovely Hierophant card. You can see the crow with the flash of lightning, and the crow seems to be calling and holding a key. It's a beautiful, mysterious card. I love this portrayal of the Hierophant because I will talk about the traditional portrayal of the Hierophant, as well as this slightly kind of more, I'd say, archetypal, really, depiction of the Hierophant, as the crow energy is often connected to what is dying, what is being let go of, but the crow itself is an animal that can fly between the realms, between the worlds, often connected in many mythological stories globally, with carrying messages from the dead to the living, carrying spirits of the dead, being able to kind of cunningly, like almost in a trickster-like way, move between the worlds, move between the different times of day, and adapt very well to lots of different environments. A clever, a very intelligent animal. And I think the Hierophant card really is drawing upon that cleverness and that intelligence as we look at the archetypal energy of mentor, teacher, guide, healer. Usually someone who morally, intellectually, through a moral code or through a set way of learning or a structured way of learning, is providing support and guidance to us at this time. So that could literally be somebody in your life, or it could be representative of systems, moral codes, dominant cultures that you may or may not be a part of, you may choose to be a part of, you may be on the edge of, depending on your perspective on what culture means to you in your life. Of course, some elements of the ancestral might come into this as well, because with the Hierophant, we're looking at anything that is about, archetypally tradition, our personal histories, our kind of genetic code, epigenetics could come into this as well, for those of you that are interested in the fields of ancestral study and how the events that have happened to our ancestors can be carried through the bloodline, and there is some fantastic science about that, as well as also the knowledge of globally indigenous cultures and peoples all over the world, as well as many spiritual paths all over the world, that yes, we do carry ancestral wisdom in our bones, in our blood, in our personal makeup, and that has an ultimate impact often on how we perceive culture, on what wounds us, what hurts us, but also what protects us, what keeps us safe, what wisdom and knowledge can we take from our ancestors, from our family, from our tribe, from our community, from the people who we surround ourselves with. So really, we're talking about the energy of this time, and perhaps this is a really supportive energy of this time, but it could also be a destructive or a conflicting energy of this time, depending on your relationship to the themes of mentor, teacher, or teachings, guidance, and then looking at the wider implications of that in your life. So personally, that could play out in lots of different ways, right? Because we all have different relationships with morals and beliefs and ideas and where they come from, and our own personal stance on those things. So it could well be a time where you're being held to account for what you believe in, what you value, what you're practicing, what you're actually believing in your day-to-day life, and how that conflicts with or blends with and supports the outside world, your community, your friendships, your family, the culture in which you are operating in at this time. Okay, so that's quite a big theme, and we could say that cultural structures, we could look at that politically in a global sphere when we look at things like, the current ecological system breakdown that we're experiencing, the environmental kind of climate change stuff that's in the news at the moment, the movements that are supporting what is needed in terms of change around those things, people in power being held to account, systems globally that are leading to great destruction of our planet being held to account. Another way of looking at this theme on a much grander scale. But from a personal perspective, how are you being held to account at this time? What is working for you? What is not? What paradigm shifts? What ideas are you holding on to that are rigid and outdated versus what is the flash of lightning, really? The flash of lightning in your world of realization that could help you become a visionary, that could help you work with a more supportive paradigm for your personal well-being, for your life path forward, for your career maybe, or your work or your projects, but also for how you live day to day. What moral codes are working in your relationships, what ideas and values are working in your relationships as well, and what are not working, to bring it back to that full moon energy, which may be playing out, like I said earlier, in the theatre of our relationships as well as also personally. The second card I have drawn is how best to integrate these themes. So how to integrate our relationship with systems and teachings and ideas, and how those might be shifting or changing for us right now. The outmoded and outdated versus the new and the visionary and the transformative. How can we adapt this in our lives? Well, a beautiful card from the Wild Wood Tarot. The Ace of Bows. If you can see, we've got the bow and the spark of life here. Of course, for many, well, all cultures globally, in the beginnings, the hunter-gatherer beginnings, people were, during sort of prehistoric times, using the bow to create the first fire. And what must have been an incredible and empowering, deeply life-changing, obviously transformative to humanity as a species, relationship with this incredibly creative and at times dangerous element. So we have the spark of life. And really this is speaking to us about adaptation, about how can we adapt to a changing environment? How can you adapt to a changing environment in your life right now, or what you're seeing in your wider world? How can you make changes that will allow you to bring new skills, new learning? It's a great time for new beginnings around learning new skills. It's a great time to consider anything that you've been creatively holding back from. Where is the inspiration right now? Because this inspirational, cleansing fire energy, the first spark, is the most kind of, awe-inspiring. How can you bring that energy into your life right now to really reshape what isn't working for you? Fire is a deeply transformative element, and of course right now that melting pot of pressure, that furnace of pressure that I referred to earlier with this full moon energy, cosmic energy. Now you can bring that down, ground that into yourself, into your body, literally practicing grounding practices right now, but also connecting that with movement, with creative projects, with things that fill you with joy, fill you with life force energy. Because this could be a very draining time if you get sucked into the chaos and the stress and the kind of collective unconscious energies that are responding often in unpredictable and chaotic ways, and the relational energies that could be responding to this in challenging ways. But remember, at the heart of this we have transformation, and the spark of fire, that first spark, is the ultimate transformative energy. So bringing that into your environment, bringing that into your day-to-day life, breathing that life force into your body, being in the sun, you know, in the springtime sunshine, anything that can warm you up at a very soul level, will allow you to adapt to a changing environment, will allow you to be fueled to go with the changes that we are being asked to go with right now. Whatever held you back can no longer hold you back anymore, however scary it may seem. So drawing on anything that inspires you, anything that's creative and nurturing right now, and warms the good things in life for you. Even the small things can really help you fuel yourself for the bigger issues. And now we have a beautiful rune that binds the whole reading together. You can see Inguz. Might be a little tricky for you to see. There we go, that might be a bit clearer. Inguz is associated with the old fertility god in the Norse runes, Freya. The brother of Freya, the Norse Valkyrie goddess, the warrior fertility goddess of Eros and erotic energy. He is kind of more like a sort of old agricultural god associated with the land, associated with the fertility of the land. And here we have that kind of energy around dynamic, fertile growth, binding these two energies together. So these two cards which speak of how we can seek guidance, support and mentoring, or how we currently seek that, what systems we hold on to and look up to versus what do we need to move into. And so Inguz is telling us that, first of all growth happens on an internal level. So we need to be focusing on nurturing our internal fire, which really goes well with the previous card, the Ace of Bows, the spark of life. What gives us that spark of life? What seeds are we gestating still inside of us that could bring about new change? What have we been holding on to that we now need to feed a little more with positive energy? We need to start looking into how we can make that happen. And then moving that into the external realm. How can the seeds of our dreams, wishes, intentions, needs begin to manifest in our external lives? Through our work, through our relationships, through how we live our lives day to day. Ing is asking us to go within and truly meditate on, reflect on and nurture our dreams, our visions, and in relation to remembering what we hold on to, what we need for support externally, what systems, what teachers. Are we following a spiritual path right now? Do we need to change aspects of that? Are things outdated in that? Are we feeding a culture that wears us down, makes us feel tired, makes us feel like we don't belong? All those kind of questions could be coming up right now, and we could put that right into our relationships as well. What parts of our relationships need tending, need nurturing, need cutting away as though they were dead wood? What needs talking about that's difficult right now? And obviously with the caveat of the explosive energy that's around at the moment, being cautious around how you express yourself at this time. So, tending our seeds, filling our life force into our bodies, grounding yourself during a very energetically chaotic time. There is a lot of unpredictable energy around, so take care. Be outside in nature, do whatever makes you feel in contact with your body, releasing any of that pent-up stressed energy so that you can flow with health and vitality into the beautiful full moon season, which is incredibly powerful energy to tap into. If there's anything that feels stuck or stagnant, I guarantee if you tune into this energy and you meditate upon it and how it can serve you best at this time, you will no longer be stuck. There will be some freeing up of whatever holds us back, culturally, politically, socially, spiritually and also on an individual level. So go gently, and I wish you happy, fulfilling and enlightening full moon. Oh, and if you would like a reading, please do get in touch. One-to-one readings can be arranged with cards or runes or any combination. I can do these remotely, online, from anywhere in the world, for anyone who lives anywhere in the world even. And I'm also, for those of you that live in the Calder Valley area near Hebden Bridge, or even as far as Greater Manchester, there's the possibility, or Leeds or other parts of Yorkshire, there's a possibility to arrange a one-to-one reading in person. The prices for those are slightly different to the prices online, which are based around remote online readings, which is a different structure. So please do get in touch if you would like to learn more about how this incredible energy could be personalised into your individual questions and circumstances right now. I'd be very happy to support you on that journey. Journey well.